So I would like to start with introducing Amandeep and following his very interesting talk. So I get to know Amandeep at the World Economic Forum, where we have the Global Future Council on value ethics. Right there, of course, you just met a gentleman, very interesting, very talkative, knows many things about the world, and of course, with a different culture background. So I was thinking, oh, maybe that's it, and later, maybe, yeah, just next year, and then you work with him in another working group, and then most importantly, when we get to know more about each other, and then the interests come to consensus, where both of us were in the UNESCO Adhoc Expert Group for ethics. By that time, we started very serious collaboration in many ways, not only limited to the forming the draft of the recommendation from UNESCO, but also later to extend the dialogue between where Amandeep was an expert in, that is AI, that is military AI and its governance, and then when I started working with World Health Organization on the ethics guidelines right there, and then we got a chance to interact with Amandeep on AI for healthcare, where Amandeep finished a lot of their pilot work in the UN, and then moved to their interesting newly established institute, where Amandeep may have an introduction later. So I'm really grateful for this various connections in various areas, but most importantly, to push forward responsible trust and beneficial AI together. So Amandeep, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Shi. Thank you for those warm words and the kind introduction. Yes, in my person, I combined different disciplines, trained as an engineer, worked in the telecom sector, and moved to social sciences. I have a PhD in international learning and worked as a diplomat across different cultures, Iran, other parts of Asia, Europe, North America. And in fact, AI was a kind of return to the roots for me when I started chairing the international negotiations on lethal autonomous weapon systems in 2017 and helping the Indian government with its first AI task force, where there was a chapter on ethics and governance and a clear enunciation of position on avoiding these autonomous weapon systems that can take life and death decisions on their own. What I'm going to do today is talk about the cross-cultural perspective in AI, the essential need for cross-cultural collaboration, particularly on governance and ethics. In our work at the International Digital Health and AI Research Collaborative, we are trying to build this global, inclusive, transdisciplinary community. Transdisciplinary is important because just having computer scientists or just having health specialists in the room is not going to cut it, but global is important as well. These are technologies that take no time to move across the globe. And in fact, there is an international consciousness which is shared by many of the researchers and developers. So there are several reasons why this effort has to be global. And at the end of the day, the third important reason is that we have these global challenges, from climate change to inclusive health coverage, that need global collaboration to solve. I don't want to show slides today. I want to keep it conversational. Maybe I'll show a slide later on in my brief remarks. Firstly, I think we need to recognize that there is a tension between a universalist pull and a specific cultural context pull. All digital technologies tend to towards universality. It's the credo of the internet, of many of the developers. They want to cut across cultures. And you see that in a practical sense. TikTok, developed in China, is a rage in India because it touches on certain basic human instincts of sharing and joy, etc. So, and that's the experience with Silicon Valley applications as well. So there is that universalist aspect. Also on ethics and governance with the human rights frameworks, the UN conventions, the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, the efforts at UNESCO, there is a universalist framing. But at the same time, AI in particular is about specific contexts of use, specific contexts of data gathering, curation, and data governance. So there is this tension between the local and the global, and that needs to be bridged through a tiered scheme of governance where there are international norms, there are strong national regulations, but then there are industry-specific, local cultural-specific ways of governing and benchmarking AI as well. That's my first big point. The second big point on cross-cultural collaboration is that there is a difficulty in coming up with international norms on AI governance. Treaties are going to be very hard to make, and the soft laws will be very hard to implement. So therefore, we need to make sure that these normative principles, the broad principles that many of us are agreeing on, becoming part of, are discovered in each cultural context. So we need cross-cultural conversations to land that international guidance into particular contexts. And the last point I would make is that given the fundamental nature of AI, which is, in a sense, we are trying to find ways to emulate human intelligence. And there is a very specific cultural way of understanding human intelligence. You know, in the Indian culture, for example, the supreme intelligence doesn't reside here. It resides here. It's collaborative in some ways. So there, we understand human intelligence, human capabilities in very culture-specific ways. And so far, the AI conversation has been broadly about ethical cultural perspectives from the Semitic cultures, some of the notions that, I will end with a slide represented there. I think we need to make sure that to avoid loss of agency or some of the risks that Sean and his institute have been focused on, we need to make sure that we get to a better understanding, culturally sensitive understanding and cross-cultural understanding of what do we understand by AI, what are its limits, what is its potential. So I'll stop here. I'm looking forward to hearing from all the other fantastic panelists and this conversation. I'll just end with just flashing this slide for your, just to illustrate this point. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent, for the very interesting way to keep everything start. I like this slides that you're showing that really connected many of us together. In fact, I think we could have a discussion later, maybe just on the slide on how we can connect it to each other. So thank you so much.